In case you missed it, here's Dave and Cheryl's favorite moments of the week.
And now it's time to put some good in your morning.
This is just an incredible good news story today about a woman who decided to overcome some of the obstacles she was facing.
Her name is Karen Woods, and she left school at 15 when she was pregnant. And when she left school, she didn't know how to read. So she decided when she was a little bit older, at the age of 39, to take an adult literacy course and finally learn how to read. And turns out she actually has a gift for the written word. And now she is writing her 27th book.
Best-selling author, too, by the way. She said, I feel I represent all those who have had bad starts in life. I want to be the inspiration for women who think that because they've got kids, they can't do what they want. How cool is this story?
So she's now 53. She's written 27 books since she first learned to read when she was 39 years old. And she's now an ambassador for adult learning. To encourage people, and tell them it's never too late. And she actually visits prisons to give inspirational talks.
There's today's good news.
Yum. Science. It's not rocket science.
Check it out. I blinded us with science.
This first story is fantastic, and I think I agree with this. Do you believe that music has the power to heal? Well, according to new research from Michigan State University, it says it does.
So the study looked at 12 patients who were undergoing chemotherapy treatments, and they had them listen to their favorite music for half an hour every day whenever they needed to take their anti-nausea medication. And the patients who did this actually saw a decline in the severity of nausea and distress levels. And I mean, previous studies have shown musical therapy can really help to treat pain and even anxiety. So they think that maybe listening to your favorite songs makes your medication more effective.
Isn't that amazing? Hey, if junk food is your vice, it may be because all of those sweets have brainwashed you, so to speak. So according to a new study, eating food high in sugar and fat rewires our brains to unconsciously prefer delicious but unhealthy snacks. Chips, why you treat me this way? How exactly do sweets have that power? Well, they say our brains learn to prefer food, sweets, chocolates, cake, cookies, chips, and then respond in kind by saying, yes, more of this. You like this.
Yeah. Because what is it they say? It takes they're almost 30 days or a couple of weeks to get rid of the cravings for sweets and stuff like that. But you have to cut off cold turkey. It's rough in those first couple of weeks.
Yeah. So the study concludes our brains learn subconsciously to prefer those foods over, a carrot or a piece of celery.
So this is why I can't stop eating the mini eggs right now.
So we bought pretzels not that long ago. We were at the store and, we were like, okay, we got pretzels. And then we walked by this whole thing of cookies. And there was these lemon drop cookies or something. And we both looked at it at the same time. My wife says, wow, those look really good. I said, yes, but why have the deliciousness of a cookie when we have the disappointment of a pretzel? They were okay. Not the same.
But you were craving sweets, not salty.
In that moment,
That was your issue. Hey, just some people report a decline in their memory before any drop in cognition is large enough to show up on tests. This and some other factors have actually prompted scientists to think our brain decline actually starts a lot earlier. But there's some new research that actually shows the opposite. So instead of it happening after turning 25, it turns out that it does between the ages of 30 and 40. So this is welcome news for people who fear that, all those sort of brain farts and seniors moments are a sign that they're doomed to early onset of dementia.
So some good news in that form. More research obviously needed. Hey, there's a video going viral online where a guy shares off his trick for opening up a difficult lid.
So what he does is he takes a spoon and sticks it underneath the lid, and he explains the whole process.
I know you can buy silly gadgets that open it, or you can tap it off the table. Now, if I was to open this, I'd open it, because thankfully I still have my hands that are in good use. But I want to show you. Look under the lid here. You'll see a couple of little grooves, 4 or 5 grooves. Get a little teaspoon, small spoon, go near one of the grooves on the edge of the jar and underneath the lid, and listen. Share it. Save the planet. How to open a jar.
Now, this is not a new trick. There are previous examples of it online. People just say, you got to be careful because if the glass breaks or shatters, you're going to have a big mess.
Because what you do is you're putting it on, shoving the spoon underneath the lid there and releasing the suction so that it comes off. And I actually saw a trick for this, and this might be a lot safer than, shoving a teaspoon in there, is using a bottle or can opener, especially like one of those sharp ones, just to release the suction and then do it. Mm-hmm. So maybe use a bottle opener instead, because that's kind of what they're designed to do.
A little safer.
And now it's time for
1, 2, 3, 4.
It's random.
Is that a fact?
4 Random Facts.
The ginkgo is the oldest surviving tree species, having remained on the planet for 200 million years, even before dinosaurs. That's one hardy tree.
It's a long time. Hey, the NBA All-Star Game this year had a final score of 184-175. The last time a team scored under 100 points in the All-Star Game was all the way back in 1973.
No one wants to get hurt.
So no one's really playing defense.
Defense isn't really a thing. In most Spanish-speaking countries and in Greece, Friday the 13th isn't considered an unlucky day. Tuesday the 13th is. In Italy, Friday the 17th is an unlucky day. Now, this would make sense to me. Friday the 13th, well, it's still Friday. If your weekend is Saturday, Sunday, that's still a good day.
Well, in a lot of countries, 13 is actually a lucky number. And finally, the movie Frozen is based off of Hans Christian Andersen's story of The Snow Queen. Disney's actually been trying to adapt it into a movie on and off since the 1930s.
I think they finally were able to pull it off. Yeah, pretty successful. There's your 4 random facts.
Today's
1, 2,
4
So random.
random.
Give the public the facts.
4 Random Facts.
So last week we were telling you this story about how in this LA neighborhood, Uber Eats deliveries were showing up. Some people were getting 30 and 40 deliveries a day. And now, just like in this neighborhood in LA, random people in New Westminster, BC have been receiving Uber Eats deliveries.
They say dozens, if not hundreds of packages have been piling up on their doorsteps in recent weeks, and they have no idea who ordered the food. This one woman by the name of Jennifer, she says she's gotten more than 30 deliveries in just a week, including one order was just 2 bottles of water and a single donut. She says one of her neighbors got a single bowl of gravy from KFC.
The orders are all paid for. The name of the sender isn't included. And there's no specific addresses or unit numbers attached, only generic addresses and for multiple townhouse and condo buildings. So she reached out to other residents on a Facebook group and discovered dozens of people are facing the same issue there.
Now, Uber is concerned about this. And Jennifer says she's actually contacted the police department about the orders, although they say they're not able to address the issue. But I think Uber is, doing something to try to figure out what is going on.
Now, a professor that works at the University of Waterloo in their Cybersecurity and Privacy Institute, he says he believes the incidents there in LA could be connected. So is it for some sort of social media clout, as somebody in LA was thinking in their neighborhood, people filming it, they've got money and is just trying to get laughs or clicks?
I haven't seen any trends like that really online, although I don't really, my For You page isn't filled with videos of people doing dumb pranks like that. I wondered, is it a way to see if anybody's home? Because they'll come out and be like, what's this? And if no one ever comes out and picks it up, then can they rob the place?
Or is Uber Eats having some sort of cybersecurity issue themselves, and are people getting into their system? I'm not saying that's the case, but there's something going on where it was, originally just looking like it was hitting this neighborhood in LA, and now it's hitting this random neighborhood in New Westminster, BC. So obviously by now you've heard that the U.S. had another school shooting yesterday. 6 people killed at a private school in Nashville, including 3 kids, all 9 years old.
The shooter also died after a shootout with police, and I don't even know where to start with this. We're only 86 days into 2023, and this is the 129th mass shooting in the U.S.
There was some misinformation that the shooter may have gotten in through an unlocked side door at first, but then police released video late last night showing that was not the case. They shot into the door to open it. It was locked.
It was planned out. So this, a person had done, the suspect, they had done some, surveillance work. They had a map of the school. They knew what they were doing. Apparently they attended that school when they were, younger. So they knew the layout. And actually, it was during a news conference after the shooting. All the news stations were there, had set up their microphones at like a sort of a makeshift podium. And someone who was standing nearby actually came over. Now, she and her son actually just survived a mass shooting last summer in Illinois. Happened to be in Nashville yesterday on vacation. And she walked up to the mic and was just like, aren't you guys tired of having to cover all these mass shootings? Like, when is enough enough?
And again, the 129th mass shooting in the U.S. in the first 86 days of the year. That's according to gunviolencearchive.com or .org. Now, what they do to put that together, any shootings of where 4 or more victims are injured or killed by a gun. 19th shooting at a school or university this year where at least one person was wounded. And this is staggering. Gun fatalities recently passed car-related deaths to become the leading cause of death for kids in the U.S. Let that sink in. Gun fatalities passing car-related deaths to become the leading cause of death for children in the U.S. I don't know what the answer is, but doing nothing is doing nothing. Just saying now's not the time to talk about it. When? These families have been devastated. Three young girls, 3 young children, 2 of them girls, I believe, 1 boy, not coming home. Yesterday, they were getting ready for school and the excitement of that, and they're all so young. These families have been devastated forever. Another group of families devastated.
And I know they always say, the people that, are against, any sort of gun regulation. Now's not the time. Well, when is the time? Because there's another school shooting before it is the time to talk about it.
Never seems to be the time. And sadly, the pessimist in me says nothing will ever change because of how much money from lobbyists gets poured into politicians' campaigns and whatnot too. When will it ever change? I don't know. I don't have any answers. It just seems to go on and on. If you're planning to do any traveling and staying at hotels, an online website posted a list of things you might want to clean yourself because, they clean the rooms. They may not give everything a good cleaning.
Like the TV remote. That's something everyone uses. But how often is it getting cleaned? It might get wiped down, but not really disinfected.
Another one is the nightstand. They say surfaces in general just might not get wiped down enough where you might be putting your phone and other things.
Also the door handles, obviously, because another thing that everyone touches, along with the light switches and also the phone in your hotel room, especially if you're planning to use it.
Other things like handles on the mini fridge and things like that.
The toilet handle. You think about it. It's one thing people touch after using the bathroom before they wash their hands.
And often it's not something you think about wiping down, even when you're cleaning your toilet at home, unless you're doing from top to bottom the whole thing.
You're thinking about the toilet bowl and the seat.
You might not be thinking about the handle. The coffee maker's another one. They say probably a good idea to run it through a cleaning cycle if the maker does have one. If not, at least rinse the pot out. And if the mugs are ceramic or reusable, clean those too. But I would argue that, first of all, you're lucky if you have a coffee maker in a hotel room these days. A lot of places have taken them out. And a lot of them, depending upon what type of hotel room you're staying in, can be a little bit rickety. I've had them before where you go to press the on button, it clicks off. You got to hold it down. I've had that.
The whole time? And they're like those little mini ones that make like 2 cups, if you're lucky. Another thing, too, that you can't necessarily clean, but the comforter on the bed. Those don't really get cleaned enough. We're not talking about the sheets. It's the comforter over top. Not really much you can do about it, although there was a recent survey that found 1 in 10 people sometimes bring their own sheets with them when they stay at a hotel. So you're telling me you show up to the hotel and make the bed and then strip it and take the sheets home?
Wow, that's some sort of hardcore commitment. Now, I know with the comforters, I've heard that before, right?
Yeah.
That they're heavy, they're huge to be able to put in a washing machine, so they don't necessarily get washed a lot. But the sheets, I think they're doing those quite a bit.
Yeah. Now, I always bring my own pillow, although that's just more for my own comfort because I'm used to my pillow rather than thinking about germs or anything like that.
Just don't leave it behind. I've done that before.
Oh, yeah, that's the worst.
You're halfway down the highway. No, pillow, I loved you so much. We've got a little bit of law and disorder for you this morning, and we've got some pretty interesting stories. Now, if you steal a small car or an SUV in New York City, it might take the police a few hours to track you down or longer. But if you steal a gigantic airport shuttle, well, it's not going to take them quite as long.
No, definitely not. Maybe an hour or so.
43-year-old guy was arrested in New York after he stole an American Airlines employee bus from JFK. It was left unattended and idling, so it was an easy target. No one else on the bus, and it was in the middle of the night. But the guy was able to drive it all the way to Manhattan, which is about 20 miles from the airport, before police finally closed in, surrounded him, pulled him over. They say he was arrested without incidents, so there was no, kind of like Sandra Bullock, Keanu Reeves.
Speed antics.
That kind of thing going on. Police also said that this guy has 10 previous arrests on his record, but this is the first time he's ever stolen a bus. So he's reached a new level in his criminal career.
In our second story, last summer there was an Alaskan Airlines flight that was delayed for 3 hours because the two pilots were fighting. Well, most recently, a SkyWest flight from LA to Houston was delayed by an hour because two flight attendants got into an argument. An anchor for ESPN by the name of Ashley Brewer was on the flight, and she posted about it on social media. Apparently, it started right before takeoff. A woman in first class wanted to switch seats with someone in coach because her husband was back in coach. They probably couldn't get two seats together. Well, one flight attendant said, yeah, that's cool. But there was a second flight attendant who said, no, you can't do that. That sparked an argument between the two flight attendants, and it escalated to the point where the two of them refused to even work together. So the SkyWest people had to bring in a brand new set of flight attendants for them to take off.
Wow.
But it delayed everything by over an hour.
So these two are never going to be scheduled together again.
Yeah, and they actually said that they're holding an internal investigation because they said they like to hold their employees to the highest standards of professionalism. They don't think this was very professional.
Yeah, no doubt. And finally, during a 24-hour standoff with a suspect in North Carolina, an Amazon driver was caught on camera making sure he delivered a package. In the video that now has millions of views, he's actually seen handing it to one of the SWAT officers.
Amazon, hard at work, in the midst of a standoff. He's going to deliver his package. Oh, my God. Give us the package, bro.
See, a former post office employee, no rain nor snow will keep us
or
down.
SWAT. I couldn't even imagine the level of angry this man must be. A guy in North Carolina, his name is Jason, purchased a Maserati for about $68,000 last November as a birthday present for his wife. But this Maserati isn't tearing it up on the highways because it's in a police garage.
Jason bought the car from Carvana, and that's this online car dealer down in the U.S. Everything was fine until last month. He took the car into a dealership for service. And that's when the technicians made a discovery. Some of the parts on the car didn't match the year of the VIN numbers on the window and doors. Then they found a different VIN on the chassis. Carvana claimed the Maserati was a 2021 model, but the technicians are like, no, this is actually a 2017. Turns out the Maserati had been reported stolen last summer.
So Jason was questioned by police. He was eventually cleared after showing the paperwork from his purchase, but they still needed to impound the car. He called Carvana, and at first they were being difficult with him, but eventually they did agree to refund all of his money, and they offered him $1,000 for the hassle.
And when they checked the VIN number on the chassis, that's when they saw that it was a stolen vehicle. She said, well, we can't trade the vehicle back in until you bring the vehicle back. I said, I can't bring the vehicle back. I said, the police have the vehicle. I know they said they have 150-point inspections. I want them to have 151. Check to see if the vehicle is stolen.
So he's demanding $1 million for putting him through all this chaos and hurting his reputation, too, on top of it, because he had to go through this whole police investigation.
Mm-hmm. I think $1 million is a little much.
Well, I think you always aim high and then settle out of court, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't blame him, though.
$1,000, sorry, you need to return the car. You sold me a stolen vehicle.
Yeah, you need to call the police because they're the ones that have that car. And he even added, too, you hate to think of somebody driving down a dirt road at night and they get pulled over and suddenly police think you have stolen this vehicle, right? That could be a tense situation in that moment too, right? Yeah, 151 points of check probably needed. We got some great animal stories for you, including one about an owl, one about some snakes, which I know are your favorites, and a 90-year-old becoming a dad for the very first time. But first, you remember Jaws and that great line in Jaws about, I think we're going to need a bigger boat. That applies here. A fisherman in Argentina captured a 555-pound stingray while casting lines.
That's massive.
Yeah, the guy's name is Andre, and he's fished his entire life there and says that it was without a doubt the biggest fish he's ever caught. The short-tailed river stingray has a club-like tail covered in spines and a poison stinger. He said he was about to give up because he was just so tired, but he said it had tremendous strength. After 2 hours, he was finally able to land the stingray. Took 3 people. He used a pulley system and a hoist to get the fish on board.
This sounds like the old man in the sea right there.
Mm-hmm. He said when we had a good day of fishing, we donate the proceeds to 2 soup kitchens for homeless children.
Oh, that's great news.
So it's going to go to that.
Hey, I wish I was this owl. He snuck aboard a cruise ship and got to live there rent-free for 2 weeks. Crew members helped the Florida Fish and Wildlife officials capture the owl while it was docked near Miami. The biologist actually made noises to try to attract the bird of prey and described capturing the owl as being kind of stressful.
I bet.
The owl's in good health, a bit underweight though, and they did release him back out into the wild away from his favorite cruise ship.
I mean, owls can fly, so he could find his way back, but at least for now, he's in a different locale.
Just hitching a free ride.
Scary as this, a 2-year-old in Sydney chased a deadly eastern brown snake and then discovered a nest of 110 hatched eggs.
Nope. You're moving. I'm moving. Not living there anymore.
The family then contacted a conservation group to address the infestation. So after digging around the property, they found the huge nest. Now, the area was warm, dark, and plenty of cover and food. They say basically a dream home for the snakes. The snakes were then relocated. So the eastern brown snake is one of the deadliest in the world, as their venom can paralyze a person's heart and lungs within seconds.
I don't think I'd be chasing that snake anywhere.
Maybe teach your 2-year-old to play with something else. A stick, not a snake.
Maybe she thought it was a stick. Just a moving stick, Dave. And finally, the Houston Zoo announced earlier this week a 90-year-old tortoise by the name of Mr. Pickles became a father for the very first time. His species is actually so critically endangered, they joke that it was a really big dill. His wife, Mrs. Pickles, is 53. Ooh, much younger.
Yeah, May December romance there, right?
They welcomed 3 hatchlings, dill, gherkin, and jalapeno.
Yeah, it wasn't for a lack of trying. He gets to work quite often. But the soil out here is so hard and compact. We get a lot of rain, so it's not ideal for incubating the eggs out here. We have had a baby hatch out here 20-something years ago on accident, hence his name Fluke. This is his first offspring.
That's fantastic, though, especially when you consider how critically endangered this tortoise is.
I love that they name them after other types of pickles, although jalapeno, I feel like you could have found like a better option.
I'm just thinking about 90 years old and now a first-time dad. He's going to, good luck chasing the little ones around.
You think you're in like just going to coast into retirement? Now you got little babies running around bugging you all the time?
Can you believe March 31st today?
So tomorrow's April 1st, a brand new month, and we got a list of things to look forward to in the month of April. When it comes to sports, there's a lot going on. Got the Final Four for the NCAA men's basketball tournament. That goes down tomorrow. San Diego State versus Florida Atlantic, and then Miami and UConn on the other side, and then the championship game is on Monday. The women's Final Four, that goes tonight, and then the championship game is on Sunday night, and those are going to be some good matchups too. The Masters Golf Tournament, that is next weekend, and then the NBA and NHL playoffs both start in the middle of April, and then there's the NFL draft at the end of the month.
Now for movies, you've got the Michael Jordan Nike movie Air that hits theaters next Wednesday. Super Mario Brothers movie also opens up same day. Guy Ritchie's The Covenant, that's coming out April 21st. And Big George Foreman comes out on April 28th.
On TV, 2 shows based on classic hit movies will be hitting Paramount Plus. You've got Grease, Rise of the Pink Ladies, that's out April 6th, and Fatal Attraction on April 30th. Season 5 of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, that hits Amazon Prime on April 14th. Season 2 of Mike Judge's Beavis and Butthead, that's back on Comedy Central and Paramount Plus on April 20th. And then we got the CMT Music Awards this Sunday.
And then finally, the holidays. Good Friday is next Friday, April 7th. Easter Sunday, of course, on the 9th, and then Easter Monday follows. That's a week from Sunday, by the way, is Easter Sunday. Wow. Passover also begins next week on the 5th. National Beer Day is on April 7th. National Pet Day is on the 11th, and Earth Day on the 22nd. A few things coming up in April.
You've been listening to Dave and Cheryl's favorite moments of the week.